Hello YouTube world, Mac Daddy 1911A1 here with the Shade Tree Survivalists. This video will be dedicated to Chinese military helicopters and air power. And it's going to be pretty short because they don't have very many units that are unique to China alone. Many of their helicopters are, well, most of them are of Russian design. They have their own characteristics, of course. But overall, you can instantly identify them as a Russian license-built machine, just like their tanks, their transport aircraft, I think they have one aircraft carrier at this time, their submarines and so forth. They're very similar, if not direct copies of Russian military equipment. This one is unique. This is the Chinese Z-10. It looks more like the Italian-made Mangusta helicopter. It's laid out very similar to the American AH-1 Apache, the Russian Mi-28 Havoc, and so forth. It's got the stacked cockpit layout. The engines and so forth are pretty much in the standard position for most military helicopters. You can see it has a cannon under the front of the nose. The sensor mounts and so forth, the sights, are, very reminiscent of the AH-64 Apache. But the profile looks very similar to the Mangusta of Italian manufacture. Okay, and for comparison's sake, this is the Mangusta. I guess you'd pronounce it as M-A-N-G-U-S-T-A, the A129A Mangusta from Italy. It's a smaller helicopter. It's got a 3-barrel Gatling gun, it looks like, but the overall layout looks very similar to it, but it's a much smaller helicopter. I mean, this thing is tiny. This thing is probably in the neighborhood of like an American Little Bird as far as its size, but it is very potent little weapon system. Two-man crew, of course, but like I was saying, it's the overall layout. You can see how the wheel is on the rear and so forth, that the Chinese have copied. I think what they do is like the Russians, they see what the world has, and they strip from each what they see is the best, and they use it in their own designs. Okay, found a few more photos online here, and I thought, what the hell, instead of saving them all, I'll just give you guys. But you can see this baby's got anti-tank missiles. That's an anti-tank main gun. This particular model, the diffuser is blowing the exhaust from the engines upward. Tail rotor is similar to the American Apache. It's got the big fin at the bottom instead of the more abrupt one. And then at the bottom, let's see, this damn cursor, the way it works on this laptop is maddening. It'll run you freaking nuts. But has the sensors on the front, very similar to the Apache and so forth. Probably this is some type of sensor at the rear for detecting heat-seeking missiles or other missiles that could be fired at it. Very nice. I mean, the Chinese, like I said, they're like the Russians. They're not sitting on their laurels and thinking enough is enough. And there's another shot of it in olive drab. But yeah, they are not sitting on their laurels, ladies and gents. All right, you got a pretty damn good shot of it right here. And the weapons, oh my God. I tell you what, I left my damn ink pen inside. I bet $100. That's an air-to-air missile, the white one right there on the end of the pylon. These here are reminiscent of American Hellfire anti-tank missiles. Then, of course, your little rocket systems, anti-personnel rocket systems. In this particular case, the exhaust has been blown out to the sides versus to the bottom or to the top. You have the twin tail planes, a lot smaller than on an AH-64 Apache. And then the tail wheel back here. I'm wondering if those tail wheels may be retracted in forward flight just to, make it more efficient. Okay, and here's a really good image. You can find a lot of stuff on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. I suggest that if you really want to know more about the layout of these aircraft and so forth, that you go on and you just punch in, like this particular one. All you got to do is punch in Chinese Z10 helicopter, and bam, you'll get hundreds of images and so forth. But I'm just giving you guys a layout. But this it's showing you here's your gearbox for your rotor system and your rear rotor system, and then there's your gearbox here, your engines, and this gives you an idea what the engine looks like. You have your missiles here, an outer pylon for another missile, and of course these rocket pods and all are smaller than to scale. And then of course you've got the main anti-tank gun at the front with your sighting system and so forth. That is basically a freaking rip-off of the AH-64 Apache. If you can't beat them, join them apparently. Here's a slick photograph of it. Man, that thing is it's a good looking photograph, high definition, high resolution I should say. And all this, it doesn't have any rocket pods or missiles on it. It's clean, but it has the gun at the very front. This is a sensor for airspeed and all this different type of stuff. But you can see that the cockpits are very well armored looking. Very good looking helicopter, no doubt about it. And there's some of their propaganda. I guarantee they're going to sell this sucker to somebody somewhere. And hey, if it works, it works. You can't knock them for that. There's another good shot of it from the bottom looking up on the right-hand side of it. Again, it's clean, no missile pods or rockets or anything else. And this is, again, the Chinese Z10. So they are developing their own weapon systems, not simply relying on Russian designs. There's a really slick photograph from up front. Again, it's slick, but the main gun, its gun is still on board. What else do we have? There you go. That's a nice freaking shot. A little bit grainy, but it gives you a little more detail of how the wings flow into the helicopter and so forth, the body of the helicopter. But yeah, that's definitely a very modern helicopter, and my computers won't be a pain. And well, if the computer will quit, it just becomes a pain in the dang neck. This computer wants to make me choke slam it 4 or 5 times. But here's a nice shot, nice propaganda shot. Okay, you got the other helicopters airborne, and they're, have their little red smoke trails for their little communists, whatever the case may be. But yeah, that one is also slick. It was on display at an air show, I would imagine, demonstrating the power of China versus the United States. Oh well. Okay, this shot here is a little better. You got 2 massive rocket pods. You got your anti-tank missiles and apparently a heat-seeking anti-aircraft or anti-helicopter, which helicopter is an aircraft, so there you go. But anti-aircraft missile on the outer pylons. The Apache's been carrying the Sidewinder, not the Sidewinder. It was either the Stinger or the Sidewinder on the outer pylon for 20 freaking years plus now. So that's not a huge advancement, but when the Hokum came out, the speculation on it, the one I did in the other one, the KA-50 Black Shark / Werewolf, that's what it was designed to do. NATO freaked out, and so they started arming our helicopters for such an event. But yeah, this is set up for air-to-air defense as well as ground attack, because that's definitely anti-tank version. Okay, so they're going to try to knock out the Abrams with this baby right here, because their tanks pretty much are no match for the Abrams, or at least they were not just a few short years ago. Now, this is the funny thing. The Chinese they lie. So what this picture here is probably saying, look, this is our newest aircraft carrier. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 74 right there is an American aircraft carrier, I would imagine. Okay? So they love to do that. They had a new one up the other day about their newest camouflage uniform. It was either Realtree or Mossy Oak camouflage advertisement for them to sell, and they were claiming that was their new military camouflage uniform. And I mean, it took like 5 minutes and someone saw it and said, y'all some lying asses. That's an American aircraft carrier, okay? So that picture's been photoshopped and superimposed on it, I would imagine. But still, it demonstrates that they do have a more modern helicopter. You can see the intake for the engines right here are covered by a mesh. That would preclude foreign objects getting into the engine and so forth. But yeah, it's a slick looking helicopter. You can't take anything away from them on that score. And being we are allowing them to build all our most advanced technologies, such as the Apple iPhone, all these different, hell, this computer, I guarantee you it was made in freaking China. So they're taking our technology. We willingly send it to them to let them build it cheaply, and they're going to use it against us and shove it right up our ass. So then what we have to do is just shoot more of them than they do of us, like, I don't know, 5-to-1 in order to even be able to have a chance. But just again, another propaganda shot. This shot right here is a really, really good shot of it coming, at an angle toward you. This is the Z-10, and this is their one of the transport helicopters in the rear. We'll get to that in a different video. Which they don't have many attack helicopters, so we may just go ahead and do it in this video before it's over with. But you can see how the weapons pylon wing is actually molded right into the body of the helicopter. You can see the front sight turret, even though the side is turned around, it's been protected from flying debris while it's on the ground. And the cannon barrel, it's pointed up. And of course your guys out there wanting to look cool. Hey man, not a problem. It's a good looking slick helicopter, you know what I'm saying? You can see the wire mesh around the intake of the engine here, and you've got your airspeed probes and so forth. How the windscreen for the cockpits, the dual cockpit is laid out, and of course your reverse tricycle landing gear. Okay, and I should have been doing this in all of them, but it has a 5-blade main rotor, 4-blade tail rotor, reverse tricycle landing gear. Okay, this is a good shot also where you can see how the wing is molded right into the body of the chopper. Looks really good. I mean, like I said, it's, they're not sitting on their laurels and just buying old junk or copying the Russians or building license-built aircraft. They're actually building their own. So, yeah, probably has some parts commonality with some of the Russian helicopters, such as the cockpit and so forth, but that is not either a Hokum or a Havoc. I mean, it's just not. All right, here's a sneak peek at the video on their infantry. I want you to take a real close look at the shape of this guy's helmet right here. All right, see where my cursor's moving at? Look at the shape of that damn helmet. Does that not look like American Kevlar to you? Look at the vest. Molly. Could that be Molly? All right, they got the backpack attached to the vest. Got your mag pouches with your little snaps. Okay, now this camouflage is not similar to ours. They have the bullpup rifle that they have. Okay, fingerless tactical gloves, little fancy tactical boots. Okay, you can see they have mag pouches on the front of their vests. All right, now don't discount their infantry, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, you have to remember they have a hell of a martial history. Okay, a lot of the karate,
message is received from Joseph.
Kung Fu, and so forth comes from China. They are not going to be pushovers if we get into a battle with them. All right, that don't mean we are. Now, I'm not saying be terrified. Oh my God, dig a hole and crawl in it. No. What I'm saying is do not underestimate your enemy. That's it. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. If you look at this guy's boot here, this is reminiscent of a jungle boot to a degree. So it's lightweight, and his boot is too. The upper is fabric. The lower is leather, it looks like. And the tread actually looks like the old jungle boot. Let me just zoom in a little bit more, see what we can see. Yeah, it gets a little too blurry, really. But yeah, it does. It reminiscent of the old jungle boots from the Vietnam era. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is, I would imagine that's some type of Special Forces unit or something of that nature. They have their Team Flash Airborne. I think that's a parachute on their arm. Let me zoom in on that thing, but it gets blurry. You really can't tell, but I'll bet these are guys, are paratroopers, special operations of some type with their little bullpup rifles. And these guys have iron sights on them, but that ain't it, and that ain't all.